it's Julia. I'm working on a gift for my daughter. It's going to be a boxy, cornered makeup bag. I'm going to link the video that I saw this method on down below for you. It was very well done, very easy explanations, and I really hadn't seen it before. And you'll see the technique as we go around along here. My daughter loves anything vintage like I do, and I was given my mother's handkerchiefs, and she knew that I had them, and she made a comment that she kind of wanted some of them, and so I thought, well, that's going to make a great gift for her. So what I decided to do was to make this tote. I did lay it on. I'll catch you up. I kind of started it already, but I laid it on a double-sided muslin. So there's already a little bit of the batting in between the layers. And so I laid it on here. It ended up being 17 by 15. But if you wanted to make this kind of a tote, I think you can just pretty much use whatever size works for you. Perhaps you have an old linen or something you want to use. You just kind of, I just kind of gave enough so that I had some on the sides for seam allowances. I do have a couple other little handkerchiefs that were also my mom's that I know she's going to love, that I'm just going to fold and put inside the bag for her. Look how beautiful. They just don't make things the way they used to. This one had a couple stains on it. I'm going to try to OxyClean it. Otherwise, I may have used this one, but anyway, so that one is gorgeous, and she loves the color pink, so that's going to be perfect. And then another one that I just love them. They just have such beautiful floral arrangement, and the edges are also beautiful. And so those are going to be folded and put inside the little makeup case for her. What I did on this was I laid it on here. I stitched around it after I pinned it well, and then I just put an X in the center. I just drew that on. I used just a Mark B Gone pen for that, which is water soluble. And then I did the X's, I stitched that. And then to remove this, I'm just going to give you this hint. I have a package of these, and they are 99% water, and they don't have any odor to them. The baby wipes. This is what I always keep in my sewing room, and then they're wet enough where I can just rub it on there, and it takes care of any markings like that. The first step on this is to fold. And I'm going to mark, again, just with my Mark Big Bond, on the wrong side of the fabric. I'm going to mark the center on both sides. I also have a piece of lining that I have cut the same size as the outer. And I'm going to fold this and also mark the center on the wrong side. The zipper that I'm using, I went with a light pink because there is a little bit of pink in this. And it is a number 5, so it's wider. And it's just on a nylon, so I'll be able to just sew over the top of it. The first step is to lay this right sides together. And I'm going to just use clips. And you're just going to make a sandwich. This is the lining, and again, right sides together with that zipper in the middle, and again, that zipper is face down. I'm going to clip this, and I'm going to stitch it. And I'm going to stitch using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. The most important thing to do when you're sewing this is making sure that all your layers are even on the top. And then when you get to your little zipper pull, I like to get it out of the way. I'm going to top stitch now, just making my stitch a little bit longer. I have it set at a 3, and I'm going to top stitch this making sure everything is pulled away from the zipper and is laying nice and smooth. The next step in completing the zipper is take the bottom of the outer up to the zipper. Again, making sure that everything is lined up on your side. I'm going to clip this and I'm going to stitch this before I stitch the lining. I'm just going to stitch basically these two layers, the zipper layer and the outer layer. Again, just making sure things are lined up at the top and also on the side. I stitched that and now it forms this loop. The next step is to bring the lining up. And again, my lining fabrics are going to be right sides together. Again, making sure that everything is lined up on the top and the side. Again, I'm going to put a couple clips in. The only difference is on this, when I'm sewing in my lining, I am going to leave a gap of approximately 6 inches. I'm going to mark it so I don't forget at my sewing machine. And that is where I'm going to be turning my bag at the end. So I'm going to make sure to stop there, and I will backstitch the front and the back there. I'm going to continue with my clips, and then I'm going to stitch that. After I did that part of the sewing, I'm going to have two kind of loops or two cylinders with the lining and the outer. This is a little optional thing, but I wanted to do some tabs on either side of the zipper, just a handle to hang on to when you're zipping. I cut my piece 2 inches by 4 inches and then pressed and folded them in and stitched both sides long ways. And these will be included when I'm doing this next step. I've got my little mark there that we did right at the beginning. I want to make sure that's right at that zipper. And then take this one as well, making sure that that mark is right by that on that zipper. And then I want to insert my little tab in my outer layer here. Just going to stick that in there and clip that. Just making sure again that all those little marks are lined up on top of my zipper. And I think I've got that good. I'm going to put a clip. This is why it's just really important to take the time to make those center marks. Just makes the whole process a lot easier. Now on to the next side. I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm also going to insert my other tab in between my layers. Then I'll be taking this to the sewing machine and I'm going to be stitching this, going right through the zipper because I do have a nylon zipper. I'm going to line these up and then I'll be taking these to the sewing machine and stitching. I cut a little square, 1.25 inches. I'm going to be tracing around this in all 4 corners. And you do want to set it in beyond the stitch line. I'm just going to draw around this. I'm going to do that on all 4 corners. I'm going to cut right on my marking line, and I realize that I am kind of going to be cutting through my stitch line here. My next step will be to re-sew this and to make sure that that is back stitched and secure. Back to the sewing machine now, and I'm right on the same stitch line, stitch across here, and then I'm going to back stitch both at the front, at the beginning and at the end, just to secure that stitch that I just cut through. Do that on both sides. And then it's on to boxing the corners. It works best if you box or you do the outer fabric first and just flatten that, and then bring in your lining fabric and do the same thing and place that on top of this one. It takes a little bit of fiddling, but you'll get all of your layers lined up. And then I like to put a clip in them. You're not going to see the lining box, you know, unless you're looking inside your bag. And so just make sure that the outer one is nice and neat. Put a clip in it, and then do the same for all your corners, all 4 of your corners. And again, taking that 1/4 inch seam allowance through all your layers. Got all 4 of my corners stitched now, and then it's a matter of finding that opening that we left in the zipper and turning this through that opening. It's always fun to have the big reveal. Poking out those corners. So fun. Still have to close that opening that we left in the zipper, or the lining by the zipper. And to do that, I'm just going to open this again, and I will be stitching this, edge stitching it again, similar, just very similar to this one, using that little bit longer stitch length. This will need to be folded in 1/4 of an inch. I'll be pinning this, pressing it and pinning this into place, and then stitching it from the outside, making sure I catch that. And then that's going to be it. The bag is going to be complete. She's going to love it. I'm going to show you what it looks like when I get done, and then of course share some pictures for you as well. Looking back, I think I would have not had as much space on the top so that the roses would be up a little bit further, but I really like how the sides and the corners turned out. Another thing I love about this particular method is that you don't need a seam on the bottom. So if you're doing like a vintage linen, or like in this case a handkerchief, you don't have to cut the handkerchief in the middle and down the, you know, on the bottom. Super simple. I hope you give this a try. I hope you have a chance to create this week. Bye for now.